Functional requirements are the absolute core, the base that you have to have when satisfying any need within an environment, especially within a enterprise or IT environment. If you don't start with functional requirements, you will never know what success looks like. And it'll be very difficult for you to advertise that you've actually reached the objective that you set out to reach. You have to use functional requirements. Whether you collect that through an interview or you send somebody a spreadsheet to fill out or make a Power App for them to fill in, you got to have functional requirements before you start any IT engagement. It will save you money, time, and it will make you more efficient. So stay tuned for this video. We're going to actually walk through this document here on building functional requirements. Stay tuned in the video, and there'll be a link. You can download this document for yourself and plagiarize it and share it with others. So stay tuned. We're going to jump right to this. So here's what we're going to go over today. How do I document functional requirements? We're going to talk about creating this spreadsheet and where to get started. And this is probably the #1 challenge for organizations. And I'm going to actually give you some examples of some functional requirements as well to kind of help you get started. So what are functional requirements? I'm not going to read the text to you. I think you can read the text well enough, so download the document. But functional requirements really, as I said in the introduction, really is this core right here so that both the requester and the person satisfying the functional requirement has a common thread of understanding. You have to be able to establish what that understanding is. What is it that you need? Don't tell me what the hardware, software is. Tell me what it is that you need and let me evaluate that need. And that is often done through multiple divisions within an organization. For example, often overlooked is cybersecurity, which is a very costly adventure for compliance and just keeping things secure. So absolutely need for functional requirements. So how do I collect them? You could use as simple as possible. Use a spreadsheet if you like. Move it into a list or use a Power App to collect this. But here we have the functional requirement. What is it that you want? These should be clean and tight bullet statements. Grouping is a logical grouping of that function. For example, it may be network, or it may be performance, or it may be user experience. So you can group it. Is this requirement absolutely needed, or is it a want? And so the core requirement means it's an absolute yes, it's a core requirement, or no, it's more of a want. When is the function needed? Now this actually is usually skipped by organizations, but it's really important to collect because this allows us to create a phased approach to implementing the technology, satisfying the business need, and then pushing our way through to kind of collect all of those needs over the course of time and as budget becomes available. What organization is requesting this? If you're in a large organization, is there a cross-reference? Perhaps you have other tasks or other things that you're working on that may cross-reference to this functionality that you need within the environment, and then of course a comment section. So where do we get started? So here I'm going to list out, and again, find the URL within this video and download this document. But here are some key questions that I ask, and I give you some examples here of why you should ponder that question, and here are the functional requirements. So the first question is, how will the organization connect to that desired service, right? Is it cloud? Is it local? Does it require a PC or a home, or is it mobile? Those type of things, right? And here you have the second suggested desire to access services using a mobile device if possible. These are functional requirements right here. These over in this column. All right. What type of data will you be collecting or disseminating as part of this requirement? And now we look at the type of data. Why? Because this becomes very important when we're trying to classify this data and the use of the systems in order to store this data. Everybody has a compliance need. It may be just PII or PHI, but it may be increased to sensitive, classified, and other types of categories. So you have to specify. That's your functional requirement. Must support PII, might be one of them. The next one is, do you need increased or dedicated performance? And here, for example, the functional requirement, screen refresh must occur in less than 20 milliseconds. You're not saying that you need 250 gigs of RAM and quad-core processors and solid-state drives or whatever, fiber drives in a SAN. You're not saying any of that. You're telling us what the performance is that is needed. Let the IT people and the people that are resourcing this, the other groups that look at this, figure out how am I going to meet this functional requirement, and then they'll work backwards. Dedicated network connectivity should support 10 megabyte upload and 5 megabyte download. This is a little more technical than is really desired, but certainly a functional requirement, and that works as well. The next category is availability of service. The examples here, I give some here for your questions on why it's important, but services are required 24/7, 365, or maybe services are required 12 hours a day during a standard work week. That allows the IT department or the group that's going to be satisfying this functional requirement to clearly get what you need, right? We're kind of working through some of the core stuff. There's only 5 of them on the core. How many users will need to access the service? So here, 500 users need to do this. That's functional requirement 1. And then we need 3 managers to customize and do these tasks. And then we have 5C here. Only CAC holders will be able to access this system, or CAC and non-CAC. CAC is a PIV type of card used in the Department of Defense, but it could be anything. These are just examples. Guests or external users need access to this type of information. That is absolutely important when you're developing these functional requirements. And then the last is so those are kind of the first 5 core functional requirements that you need to use with any implementation. And then now we're going to use here for the last several pages, just a couple pages here, specific functionality that we need. Now this is often referred to as a user story. And the reason why it's referred to as a user story is, what does the user need to be successful? So go to the end of the experience. Instead of worrying about how the system is going to be created and the software and hardware and all of that stuff, go to the end and say, okay, when I'm actually using this, I need it to do this. And here are some examples of what that looks like. So for example, in a student information system, allow for course offerings to be automatically created for specific locations. Notice how these are tight, bulleted statements. Shall support role-based access, shall support student transfer of credits. A learning management system like Canvas or Moodle, provide a syllabus, deliver content and dashboards. Here's one that may ring more true for some of you. Wi-Fi, support multi-factor authentication. Deploy approved quality of service techniques. Produce demand wireless access point usage reports. Have service availability at no less than 98%. And then identity management, alert cybersecurity of violations to establish policies, integrate with SAML, those type of things. Here's some more examples here with Service Desk. So enable change management board, enable multiple APIs, and faculty management. This is more for a university, right? Faculty credentials and qualifications. Allow for faculty assignment. You can read through these by downloading this document, but this is an example of what functional requirements. Why? So what we've talked about in summary. Why are functional requirements important? How do I collect them? And I gave here in this image, I gave an example of a spreadsheet. It's simple. Where do I get started? What do I enter as a functional requirement? And we walked through the first 5 key questions here, and then I gave several examples on specific functionality in bulleted, tight statements. Now, who would fill out the functional requirements? Everybody who's requesting a service. So if you have a conversation with somebody that says, "Oh, we really need an identity management system," great. What's the functional requirement? Well, what do you mean? Well, what is it that you want the identity management system to do for you? Okay, I need this, 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 and this. And this process, although some may not really grasp it or completely understand how it works, you can walk them through how to collect this. I promise you, if you use functional requirements in everything that you do when building solutions for people, your customers will be a lot happier and you will have a lot less frustration in meeting their requirements.